Good evening and welcome to the Cabarrus County Board of Education's Monday, December the 6th, 2021 work session. I will call the meeting to order and say welcome to those who are joining us live stream.
Madam Chair, I would like to, if the board's willing, to make a motion to amend the agenda or table agenda items 2.01, 2.02, 6.02, so all the board members are present.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion to amend the agenda for tonight to table 2.01, 2.02, and 6.02 to Monday's December the 13th business meeting. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All good? Okay, great. Motion passes unanimously. All right, and with that, I will ask for those all here to stand with us and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would also ask for all of you and those with us and live streaming to join us in a moment of silence for a student that was lost to Cabarrus County Schools, and also all those that were involved in the Michigan shootings this week. Thank you. Now we will move to setting the agenda, which we have stated a motion to amend. So I would ask that the December 6, 2021 amended agenda be approved as presented.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Blackwell, a second by Mr. Walter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now we will move to our report section, 6.01, under committee reports, and I will begin with Ms. Adcock, who I think has a couple reports tonight.
Thank you, Chair Grimsley. I just wanted to reinstate that the Cabarrus County Education Foundation has their Mardi Gras event that is coming up next year, February 22nd. Tickets are on sale, and all of the funds go to programs in our school system. Also, just wanted to give kudos to the C&I committee meeting we had today, and we talked about career continuum and having a visual transcript for our students, which I think is excellent, that they'll be able to see their progress. And then finally, board interns, just wanted to say that we will have 2 new board interns coming in January, and we've enjoyed having our 2 first semester interns, Priya Punakar and Yash Thacker, with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members with committee reports? Anything at all? Hearing none, we will move to 6.03, board attorney reports. Mr. White, Mr. Vogel, nothing? Okay, thank you. Next, we will move to 6.04, which will be the quarterly forecast. We will ask Dr. Kapicki to the podium.
So I would just ask the board to review the January and February and March quarterly forecasts that we present to you. These are the items that you will see coming up on the upcoming agendas for those various months, and some of the things that we are working on as a cabinet and as a district to present to the board during the January, February, and March board work sessions and board business meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
I assume that's the 2022-23 budget. Is that correct?
That would be correct. That should read 22-23. Thank you, Mr. Walter.
All right, thank you. Now we will move to items under 7.01, which is the sewer easement at Patriots Elementary School, and we'll have Mr. Tim Louder to the podium.
Good evening, Madam Chair and board members. I'm coming to you tonight just for a point of information. As it says in your description in your item, we have a developer that's developing a piece of property just between Patriots and C.C. Griffin Middle School, and they have to tie onto the sewer, and there's about a 10-foot gap between where the sewer easement that goes up into the development versus the new property, and it happens to be on Patriots Elementary School property. And in doing so, they've requested that 10-foot easement to be able to tie into the City of Concord sewer line. Of course, the property is still under the ownership of Cabarrus County because its financing is still underway, so therefore they would be the ones granting the easement. I'm just coming to you to the board tonight as a point of information so that you understand that that's going to happen and they're going to grant the easement accordingly. Any questions?
Great. Board members, any comments or questions?
Has this been approved already?
No, sir. The Cabarrus County will have to do the approval and actually grant the easement. I'm just bringing it to you as a point of
There was some wording on it, if you can bring it up.
Pardon?
Can you bring it up on the board docs?
Yes, sir.
Can you bring it up so you,
Yes,
yeah,
it's on
go
board
down
docs.
the wording, the first paragraph? Wherever that's at, page
What-
two, is
what
it
are you
page two?
Pardon?
Can you, whoever's on the screen, if you can bring it down to bring the document up at the page 2?
The actual attachment?
Yeah, the attachment.
Okay. I have it here in mind, but pull it down, Dane, if you will.
Yeah, it was the words, where's that middle of that paragraph? The word on like the 4th or 5th line down where it says, grant the right, privilege, and easement to enter and re-enter at any time.
Yes, sir.
Can we not say at any time? Can we say with proper notice to us, or
Once you
this could
grant the
be?
easement, it will belong to the City of Concord. So that's the City of Concord's right to enter and repair or maintain that sewer.
They still should communicate before they start tearing up a road or doing
It
what they
doesn't
need
tear
to
up
do.
the road, it's only 10 feet of easement on the edge of our property line. So it doesn't cross our road, it doesn't really cross anything other than the grass between us and the property line.
But it's still coming out of school property, is that what we're saying?
It's on school property,
So
so is
shouldn't we
the
know
other
before
portion
they
of
do
the
that?
easement. Because usually the City of Concord does notify you. If they're gonna come in and dig up the sewer line, they'll probably come and tell us, they're gonna be on the property digging
Right, but
it.
shouldn't it be, can you add it to these things, add it to this easement, or you can't add that wording to the easement?
It's usually not added, sir, simply because City of Concord, it's just like a power line. You can sign a power line easement with the City of Concord, they can come on the
Right, but all
property
this-
anytime they want to, and not much you can do about it. So
Yeah, it's like any agreement, it should be negotiable, but that's just my point of view, is it shouldn't say just at any time, it should say with communication to the owner. Thank you.
Are you good?
I'm good,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
All right, we'll move to 7.02. We'll have Dr. Kopicki back for the COVID update.
So as you can see in front of you are the metric-based guidelines that we have currently for this week, December the 6th, 2021. 2 of the 4 categories have moved into the orange and red zone, while the other 2 maintaining or staying in the green zone. So we stand with an 8.4% positivity rate in our county, 783 cases in our county, 131 positives in our school, and 608 current quarantines. You look below the week of December 6th, you again can see the data that points out the positives, the quarantines, and those quarantines that have become positive. Are there any questions?
Board members, any comments or questions? I'll start with Ms. Sandage.
Can you remind me, 2 means that we're mask optional? Or is it 3? Where are we at on that?
It's my recollection that it was 3 of the 4 metrics to make a change. There were 3 of the 4 metrics had to be in either the orange and red or the yellow and green to make a change. The decision, when it was tied on a 2-2, there was no decision or direction given. But I would say to you right now, to give you a little more further detail and to dig into the data to understand it better, because when you look at it in an aggregate total, it can be a little confusing. And I don't want to mislead anyone, but we do take a hard look at this information in this data. Right now, you have 86% of our schools, which is 37 out of 43 schools, that have 25 or less quarantines in their building. 30 of those schools have 12 or less quarantines in their building. You have 6 schools right now that have between 26 and 78 cases of quarantine. So when you look at that, it's a lot when you say 608. But when you start disaggregating the data and taking a look at it, it calms you a little bit. And I'm not calm about COVID. You want COVID to go away. We don't want this to be a problem. I don't mean to lighten the situation, but when I start looking at the data and how it breaks down, it's like, okay, we know where the hot spots are. When you look at the positives, the 131 cases, currently there are no cases in our elementary schools with more than 10 cases. In fact, the highest case count is 9 in one of our schools in terms of positives. All the rest of them are 5, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, etc. There's only one middle school currently that has more than 10 cases. That particular middle school has 18 positive cases. All the rest are 4, 0, 1, 2, 0, 0, 0. The high schools have 3 cases that have 10 or more. The remaining high schools are less than 10. So again, when you start to break that data down, it gives you a different look at the situation in the Cabarrus County school system. While I have been an advocate to mask from day one and my position hasn't changed, I would say to you to stay the course right now and let us just see what the Test to Stay program does for us that we've implemented today. I want to credit our nurses, our administrators, and our teachers for the wonderful work they're doing. This is an added burden and a lot more work to place upon our nurses and our teachers. We do not take that for granted. We understand the heavy workload that they are assuming and the pressures that they are under. But I want to commend them and compliment them because nary a complaint comes my way. All I seem to get from our nurses and our teachers is how can I help and how can I make sure that our kids stay in school and what can we do to make sure that we keep a safe environment. So I want to commend them for their work. They're doing a great job. So I'd like to see what the Test to Stay program does for us, and keep in mind that we are coming off of a Thanksgiving holiday where that's not unusual for us to see some increase in our numbers. Also, when you look at that data and you go back to the beginning of the year, again, we were masked at that time, but we've dealt with higher numbers and been successful in keeping kids in school. And one concern in middle school that I had today where thought we had some concerns, I just got off the phone with the principal and have a much better understanding of the situation there, and some of the concerns were not valid when I spoke with the principal. So as I give you these numbers and report out to you today, I would say let's stay the course and let's see what the 13th of December brings us next week and how effective our Test to Stay program is in place. If the numbers should increase or the positivity does go up much higher, I will immediately get in contact with our board chair and I will give the appropriate recommendations if we need to mask a particular school or if we need to take different actions.
Okay, can you clarify for me, I'm getting emails about the numbers on Monday. So how is that reported? So for example, if on last week we had 13 quarantines or 13 positive cases at a school, on Monday of the next week, will that be the 13 cases that's reported via a call to those parents and via the website?
So
I hope that made sense.
Let me bring up Mr. Bastley's to answer that more appropriately, because I don't want to mislead you.
Okay.
I'm not 100% certain on the answer, but I know he is more, he's got that answer for you.
Thank you, Ms. Sandage. So, it sounds like your question was if you had 13 students quarantined on Monday, right?
So last week,
Last week.
if there were a total of 13 kids that were positive, or staff or whoever at the school were positive, is that the numbers that people will see on the website on that following Monday? And then is that the number of persons that they would get on via that call?
Okay, so in terms of positive cases, you'll get the total number of positives by call for that week. So if there are 13 positive cases that week, the school will be calling to say we had 13 positives during that week, 13 positive students during that week. The number of quarantines that show up on that board are the number of students who are quarantined on Friday, on the last school day. I'm sorry, let me back up. The last school day of the week. So the last school day of most weeks is Friday. So it'll be the Friday quarantine count. That's what you'll see Monday.
So the call is the quarantines for the week, and that happens on Friday. And then on the website is the quarantines and the positives?
So for the most part, the calls come out on Monday reporting on the previous week, right? And that gives you the quarantine count from Friday, the previous school day, and it gives you the total number of positive cases from the previous week. So that will be done on the following Monday. So the numbers that people see on the board today, that populate to today's dashboard, if you will, those will be last week's total number of positives and the Friday number of quarantines.
Okay, and if there are discrepancies, where do folks just call their principal, or?
So yeah, I'd say start there. Always start with your school principal. I'd be really surprised if there were discrepancies though, because we really vet those numbers thoroughly.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Blackwell?
I've got one more question.
sorry.
So, Dr. Kavicki, do you suggest that we will have additional information relating to this test and stay within the week, within 2 weeks, within 30 days? Is there some hypothesis there?
So what I would say to you, in an unresearched manner, I'll have evidence next week as to how effective our program is after the first 5 days. And I would like to report that out to the board at that particular time to see if we are keeping our quarantines in school, or actually, let me rephrase that, our close contacts will become quarantines in school if our program is working. Again, if the numbers escalate or go higher, or to a situation we feel that it's a time period where we need to address it with the board again, we will do that. I'll be
Okay.
careful on my words here because I don't want to say anything that mislead people. I want to be very honest. If I see we watch the positivity rate, we watch the cases, we watch the same data you're watching, but what we really try and look at is we would try and break it down to school and look at the 43 schools and kind of get a good picture as to what's going on in the district. And that gives us a lot of insight as to some of the decision-making that we're making
Okay.
or recommending to the board.
So do I understand correctly that you'll have some type of presentation for us next board meeting? Is that what I hear, or no?
What you hear is we're going to give you we're going to give you the same information next week, and we'll be able to report out as to what we believe the effectiveness of our test to stay program at that point in time.
Okay.
Ms. Blackwell?
So I was just going to ask you honestly about the test to stay. So I'm glad to know we started that today, and thank you for breaking down the numbers by school, because I do think that that's important. So I'll just look forward to your information on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Walter?
For the public, again, just a brief overview of what is test and stay.
Mr. Bells?
So Test to Stay is a collaboration between us and the ABC Science Collaborative that creates an opportunity for students who were exposed to somebody in school who was COVID positive. It gives students and staff the ability to remain in school provided they are asymptomatic, provided that they get tested on days 1, 3, 5, and 7, and those tests come up negative. It also requires that students continue to wear their mask the 14th day, and of course that they get parent consent to do so.
And it's voluntary, right?
Oh, it's 100% voluntary.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Mr. Farrer?
No questions, just thanks for making things real clear.
Ms. Adcock?
Yes, I'm really excited about this as well. I do want to ask, will any of the COVID data points change? Like, will you add anything onto this that will give us any other additional information?
At this time, I would say no to that unless something comes out of the collaborative information, the Test to Stay program, or the Cabarrus Health Alliance. We again meet with them. Right now, it's bi-weekly. We met with them this morning. I work with John Bassleys closely and his team. So unless something comes out that we should be reporting or we're advised to be reporting, I would say that we're going to stick to what we're doing right now, because I do believe that we are effectively conducting school as best we can. I don't want to mislead anyone and think that everything is perfect and back to normal, because it's not. I think we all need to be honest about that. But we are doing, I think, and I want to say the we piece is our teachers and administrators and our parents and the community is doing a fantastic job at keeping our kids in school and doing the best we can under the circumstances. A lot of this is crisis management. We are not back to where we were on March 20th. We are trying to manage our schools the best we can and keep kids engaged and make sure that we're doing what we can to help kids and educate them. And I think that our faculty, our teachers, our nurses, our cafeteria workers, our maintenance folks, our mechanics, our transportation folks. Everybody across this district is doing a fantastic job.
Thank you. I agree with that. And I just want to clarify for the public, this is for students and staff.
Yes, it's for students and staff. And again, it's 100% voluntary.
Okay, thank you.
So I just want to have a couple of clarifying points as well, since we talked about teachers and nurses and the staffing and the Health Alliance. Have they gotten all of the nurses the additional help they were supposed to? Do you know if every school has the additional help?
I know that they have a few spots that they're trying to fill currently. I couldn't give you an exact number. I'm sure it's under half a dozen though. I think it's a reflection of our current job market. It's just there's a lot of churning, and they want high quality folks, and they want to make sure that we're getting the best people possible. So there's a few spots.
I would just hope they would be ahead of this game, because this is really increasing their number of hours they'll be testing. And I don't think people really understand that those people have to gear up. They have to don PPE, for all that. It's a really big deal. So, and we want to make sure that we're not deferring by default back, the teachers' additional type of nursing duties. I think that was kind of out there for a little bit, and I'm sure that made teachers go, oh my gosh, really? So, I want to make sure we're not, we are addressing that, I should say. Not doing it, but addressing it.
No, Ms. Grimsley, I would say to you that our principals, our nurses, our staff understand that there's nothing more important to us than student safety. And so we also have very effective care managers at every school. So I don't foresee any circumstance where a student is being sort of withheld from care because a nurse or somebody that's doing a test is otherwise occupied.
Great, good answer. Okay, thank you. Anything else, board members? Comments or questions? Okay, thank you. So now we will move to items for the consent agenda under 8.01 is the policy revisions for approval on second read. We'll have Mrs. Burns back to the podium, and I'm just going to do a quick rundown like we usually do. So policy 2302, remote participation in board meetings. Policy number 3410, testing and assessment program. Policy 4120, domicile and residence requirements. Policy number 7130, licensure. And policy 7530, military leave. Any comments or questions? And I will start with Ms. Adcock.
I don't have any comments or questions.
Mr. Furr?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Walter?
We got any feedback on any of these?
I've not heard anything from anyone, nope.
Thank you.
Ms. Blackwell?
None, thank you.
Ms. Sandage?
I don't have any.
Okay, are all good for moving this to the consent agenda? Okay, hearing that consensus, we will move that to the consent agenda for the business meeting. We'll move to 8.02, technology infrastructure, budget adjustment, Cabarrus County request of Roberta Road Middle School switches, and we'll have Mr. Brian Cone and Mr. Dane Hughes to the podium. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, board members. I'm here to ask your permission to present the letter attached to board docs for your approval to the Cabarrus County Commissioners on January 3rd, 2022. Pending their approval, we'll do a budget amendment to the technology infrastructure account to move $150,000 to cover the overage. This coverage is necessary due to current market conditions and price increases. Do you have any questions?
Comments or questions? I'll start with Ms. Sandage.
I don't have any questions. You said we need it in order for us to pay for the technology bill. So sounds pretty simple to me. Thanks.
Thank you.
Ms. Blackwell?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Walter?
So how many bids did we get?
On the switches,
9. We got 9 bids.
So 9 bids, and all of them were over
Yes.
significantly, I guess.
significant.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Furr? Ms. Adcock?
No comments.
All right. Are all good for moving this to the consent agenda? Hearing yes, you are good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we move to items under number 9, items consideration or action at the December 13th, 2021 business meeting. We'll begin with 9.01, policy revisions for approval on first read. We will have Ms. Burns back to the podium. And the only policy under this is 4150, student assignment, transfer, and program choice enrollment. Any comments or questions? And I'll begin with Ms. Adcock.
No, I do not have.
Mr. Furr? Mr. Walter?
Okay, we sent this back to the policy committee. What Did they discuss about the,
Well, we discussed this policy for 1 hour and 10 minutes. It ended up being our entire agenda, correct? Yes. And what we ended up doing was looking at the, page, I think it's on page 7.
can you pull that up, please?
We pulled the, yes, can you pull that up? Thank you. Keep going, keep going. A little further. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Right there. Up a little bit. Okay, down I meant, I'm sorry. This is hard to drive from here. So we had an item, it said item 10, in the event an application is made to a school that is closed to hardship requests, that the application would not be accepted. We removed that from the policy. And the rest of the items remain the same.
Thank you for going over that with us.
Ms. Blackwell?
I don't have any questions right now. Thank
Ms.
you.
Sandage?
None for me. I'm part of the committee.
Okay, great. Okay, so all good for approval of this for our business meeting, I'm assuming. You need approval for this one for tonight, right? For our business meeting?
Yes, so
Yes.
this, you would
It would go on our action
decide if you're
agenda.
going to put it on consent
Yeah.
for next week.
We've got it under action, so.
I don't know why it's there.
I know. It's okay.
I think it should be on
I was thinking
consent
it should
because
be.
it's like a normal first read.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so, board members, are we good to place that on the consent agenda for the business meeting on Monday, the 13th? Okay, consent
All right.
it will be.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving right along. So, board members, we will now move to 9.02, the 2022 Second Chance EOG and EOC Summer Program, and have Dr. Crystal Hill to the podium.
Hi, good evening, board members. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you tonight. I'm here to present the 2022 Second Chance EOG EOC Retesting Summer Program. This is the same program that we did last year in the spring and then also in 2018-19, which was our last year of official testing. So this program is an opportunity for students to retake an assessment. We are required to have your approval, which is why I'm bringing it to you tonight. It has to happen after the regular school year, and it's only for students that are non-proficient or don't pass an end of grade or end of course test. Because the program is so short, we're only allowed to allow students to retest in one subject area. So for example, if we have a student who is in 8th grade and they do not pass their math, they don't pass their reading, and they also don't pass their science, the team would decide which one test they would need to remediate and retest. They cannot take all 3. All right, next slide, please. Participation is 100% voluntary, but the students must attend all 3 days. Our early colleges were able to condense it, so it's only really 2 days for them, 1 8-hour day for remediation. The highest score is reported, so if they did not pass in the example that I just gave, if they're in 8th grade, we decide they're going to take science, and they scored a level 2 on their science test, and they retest and score a level 3, that 2 goes away and it's replaced by the 3. And for school district proficiency, it's only included in our proficiency and not our growth. So that means that our growth scores are only based on the first time the student takes the assessment. So that's why it's really important that our kids do their very best the first time, because that's how our growth is measured. But for proficiency, which means pass or not pass, they have an opportunity to retest. One thing that we're going to do a little bit differently this year is we're going to have the programming at every school. Typically what we do is we do cluster sites and we bus students from all over the county to specific sites. This year we're only going to do it, we're going to allow schools to continue at their school. This is a request from teachers and also administrators. Folks felt like students would be much more willing to participate and be much more successful if they stayed at their home school because they were just there a couple of days ago. So we're able to do that. Our early colleges are on a different calendar, so their Dates are May 16th and 17th, and then you see the traditional schools in Wolf Meadow will be June 13th through 15th. Art has been wonderful to work with, our transportation department, so he's just going to run our normal routes, so that will be also a wonderful thing of keeping it at the schools. The buses will just continue to run their normal routes. We won't have to worry about confusion about what bus stop kids get on, the time. We're just trying to make it really simple and seamless for everybody. And we are providing breakfast and lunch for all of our students. Our assistant principals serve as our site administrators. They do a great job with that. Certified staff are providing the remediation, and they will also serve as test administrators. And then our staff will support with any additional needs, or if we need to send folks out to specific sites because they need additional staffing. We will utilize our school nurses as needed for any students that have medical needs. Why would we do this? There's great student advantages. There's a score replacement, like I already talked about, on the permanent record. Our EOCs, our end of course tests, count for 25% of a student's high school final grade. So this will allow students to get a better final grade if they're not proficient. And then it also provides an additional opportunity for students that may be trying to get into a program choice area that has a requirement. For the school, they have an opportunity to increase their proficiency, but not their growth, and then also a potential change on their school performance grade. So this is the first year that all of the assessments are available. The last couple of years that we've done this, there have been renorming of our tests, so we've not been able to retest, but this year all assessments will be available. I have English 2 highlighted, and if we go to the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about that. English 2 has a written response portion, and the written responses are sent off to DPI for scoring. So what happens is on the very first day of testing, our first block test, second day of testing a second, third, fourth. So typically what happens, because the retest is so close to the end of the school year, we don't have scores back for kiddos that are either in third block or fourth block because they're testing towards the end of our testing window. So what we're going to do is allow any student who is not proficient and their score may not come back by the time our program starts, June 13th. The high schools will just work with those families to allow the students to come in and test whenever it's convenient for their schedule. We'll figure it out for them as long as their testing is completed by June 23rd. That would be the only exception. Every other tested area is going to be in the time frame that I've indicated. And then here you see our early college dates and the times as well. Traditional in Wolf Meadow, these are the dates and times. And do you all have any questions for me?
Okay, board members, comments or questions? I'll begin with Ms. Sandage.
So this is our second year, I did hear that correctly?
This is going to be our third year.
Third year, okay.
Yes,
so do we have the numbers that we can show, this is absolutely working for our district?
Yes, last year we retested 1,141 students, and again, that was at the cluster sites. And we had 32% of those students that were tested were proficient. So it was definitely beneficial for all of our students, but in terms of results, about a third of those students were proficient.
Okay. I experienced this last year, and there was some difficulty with communication. Mm-hmm. So how will this be communicated to parents, and how are their children identified?
Yeah, so part of that communication, Ms. Sandage, was because in a lot of cases it wasn't at their home school. So the really difficult thing about this program is based on general statute, the testing window is either the last 10 days of school. So it's at the very end of the school year. So we end school on Thursday, and Friday's a work day, and the first day of the program is that Monday. So for example, we might say, Johnny, we have a feeling that he may not be successful on the test, right? You don't want to tell parents too far ahead because we want Johnny to be successful. It's not till the end of the school year. He still has time to learn and grow. But we might say that. So there's two scenarios. One is that we've kind of known all along that Johnny's kind of on the bubble, that he may not pass the end of grade test. The notification comes so quickly because it's just less than 5 days before the first day of school, and we're trying to get them a bus pass, we're trying to get them to a different site. So a lot of that is going to be cut out because it will be just at their home site. And it will be the exact same bus stop that the child's gone to the entire year. So a lot of that communication piece will go away. What won't go away is the immediacy of the results, because we're only allowed to test the last 5 or 10 days of school. And as soon as we get those results, we get them 24 hours after they take the test, and then we notify parents.
The other question I have is this additional to what teachers would be expected to do regularly for the summer, and are they compensated for that?
Yes.
Or educators,
Yes.
staff?
So those folks that are working, we pay them their hourly rate. So for the hours that are documented here, and then we give them a little bit of time before and after to help with arrival and dismissal, and then we also provide them a paid planning. So we do have several teachers that sign up. It's a really quick program, but they are compensated for their additional work.
Thanks for the presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ms. Blackwell?
So, agreed, this is a really great program, and I'm very thankful that the kids are going to be able to stay at their home schools this year. So thank you to Art and Transportation and everyone that was able to make that happen. I think that's going to be a huge help to a lot of parents and kids, so thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Walter?
So how many teachers involved in this?
It depends on how many students don't pass the test. So each school, we will use their third quarter benchmark assessment, which gives us a really good projection of how many staff that we will need. So each school will use their third quarter benchmark to project how many teachers they'll need for each content area. But it is always...
It's a voluntary program, so not everybody who doesn't pass
That
is
is
going to
correct.
participate. And according to that number you gave us, it's only about, 3% that actually participated.
That's correct. So for planning purposes, we have to use those projections to project how many students will both qualify for the program and how many staff that we will have. But it's a very much of a moving target, and because we don't get those results until the last minute, it is like this.
And all this is reimbursed by the state, is that?
We are actually, typically we use DSSF, which is Disadvantaged Student Support Fund, to pay for this. But this year we're using our ESSER funding, which is we included when we wrote it up in the extended school year program. So it's an opportunity to provide additional remediation.
And it's anticipated cost how much?
$40,000.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Furr?
No, ma'am, all questions are answered.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Adcock?
Just one question. So if the students that are identified to do the program don't do it, will there be open spots? Will you have any open spots for kids to actually sign up to do it?
No, this is a lot different than a typical summer program that we would do. It's only designated for students that aren't proficient, and we really target students that are what we call on the bubble. So for example, if I use Johnny again, if Johnny, has done well all school year, it might be a surprise that he doesn't pass. Like he had a really bad day, he got sick, something happened traumatic on the way to school, so that student may be targeted. And then we have those other students that are, like I said, just on the bubble all year. The students that we don't invite to this program are students that have really had lots of difficulty all school year, because the remediation is only 8 hours, and if students have not done well the entire school year, we know that 8 hours of remediation is not going to help. It's really just what it's called a second chance. Everybody doesn't have a great test day, so this is just another opportunity to have to take the test.
Okay, thank you. Thank you
You're
for this presentation.
Absolutely, thank you.
And I just have just a quick question. I'm
Yes,
not sure if
ma'am.
you can answer this tonight, because I just thought about it, especially for budget issues. So if we use the ESSER funds for this, which is great, anything to remediate, but would we have been able to enhance this program if we would have added the additional disability fund budget?
No, there's really not I don't know, I understand what you're saying. We have, that's in the name of that fund is called ESSER Learning Loss. There's $6 million there. And so, we budget high, $40,000. We never spend that much money.
Right.
Transportation's able to absorb that cost in the regular budget. So the only and this year, meals, there will be no meal costs because of the federal program. So the only cost to the program will be staffing.
So I don't have a problem with us using that money. That's exactly what it would be used for. I'm talking about, would we have been able to identify additional kids, more subject loss?
So this program, we don't want kids to qualify for this. Like, this is when
Of
we're
course
like,
not.
we don't want anybody to come because we want everybody to do great the first time. But we will have more than enough money, more than enough staff. We will be able to serve students that end up coming. That hasn't been and money has not been an issue in the past.
Okay, and I guess I really need to probably drill down here. When we said that if they were deficient in 3 subject matters, but we're only going to be able to allow them to remediate 1,
yes.
would have we been able to add an additional
No.
remediation?
So that's in policy. The state policy says
That's
they
what
can
I was
only
okay.
remediate and test in 1 content area. Yes.
That's what I was going for.
Okay.
Okay, great.
I have an added question to what you were asking, and this is where I thought you were going with that because it was in my mind as well. So if we are not using a certain fund that we would have used last year or before we had ESSER funds, where does that funding go to? Are we able to use that for something else, or does that just go in the trash? Like, I just want clarity on that.
Never leave any money on the table.
I mean, I get that part, but since we're talking
Sure.
about and
So
the
that
public
money-
is hearing, where does that money now go?
So we use that pot of funding for lots of different things. We use it for technology uses, student supplies and materials. For any students that are not on grade level, we use it for professional development. We use it for curriculum writing. So there are always lots of needs and more things that students need. So that additional $40,000, I'm glad that we're able to flip it into ESSER funds because we can be better stewards of the DSSF, which is a state pot to use that money from.
So I hear you saying this allows us to do
Yes.
something else with.
Yes,
I got
it
that.
does.
That makes
It allows
sense.
us to do more, yes. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Hill.
Absolutely, thank you.
This will be placed on the action agenda if all the board members are good. Okay. All right, and with that, that concludes our business for the night. And I will move to 10.01 and ask that the board convene in closed session to consult with an attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A3 and to consider confidential personnel matters pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A6.
So
May I
moved.
have a motion by Ms. Blackwell. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Adcock. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? All right. Thank you, and we will say good night to our viewing audience, and we will see you Monday, December the 13th for our business session. Good night.